All right, welcome everybody to the Lakers Legacy podcast where Ides of March? How about Strides of March? Because though the Lakers had an up and down last month, that does not mean things aren't slowly starting to round into form just before the playoff home stretch. I'm your host, Jonathan Hernandez, and I'm joined by my co host, Tommy Alexander. Tommy, since last we potted, LeBron and Rui have since returned to the lineup. The Lakers had a pair of fever dream back to back buzzer beating games in Indiana and Chicago that went two completely different directions in terms of our mental health. And they have since responded by beating two playoff Western Conference teams in the Memphis Grizzlies and then the gritty, physical Houston Rockets, who had been rolling. So, with that said, how are you currently feeling about the Lakers as the injured guys slowly come back into form?
I'm feeling like generally okay. I think, to your point, the first half of March or so was rough. But I think like some of that was expected, right? We knew we were going to have that 6 game and nine or sorry, 6 game and 8 night stretch. We had 10 games and 17 nights overall. I mean, it was just like a pretty brutal stretch. And, I think it was what it was. In some ways, we did slightly better than I thought during that, but then it's like you come out of it and then you have like some sort of disappointing losses. And I think like you and I sort of texted about this a little bit offline, but one of the things about our defense is we used to always be like, oh, we talk about the margin for error with our team. I think Luka buys us a lot of margin for error generally, but our defense has an extremely small margin for error. And so
Mhm.
when guys are not like it wasn't a fluke that we had 3 months of being like the best defensive team in the league. That was a significant stretch of the season. But if you watch like the games from that time, it's like all of our guys, like role players, stars, like everybody was so locked in defensively. And we don't have the luxury of just having like an excess of defensive players who can pick up the slack for other people. And so, I guess, if it's everyone is not fully locked in, like is the case when you're reintegrating guys back from injury and you're playing lineups, playing certain guys way less minutes than they were just playing a week ago and playing other guys and lineups they're not used to being in or, whatever, it's going to lead to some defensive issues. And it was kind of unsurprising to me that we had this like dramatic drop once, like it felt like almost that coincided with like getting guys back healthy almost.
Mhm.
So, you know, I still think there's plenty of time. We have a tough finish to the season. And if we can rip off a bunch of wins here, I think that'll give us like really good momentum going into the postseason. And I think we are currently favored to finish no lower than the fourth seed, which would be ideal because we would at least have home court in the first round. And
Yeah.
we tend to be a better, home court team than road team this year. And so if you're playing the Warriors who have been red hot, you're going to want home court advantage. If you're playing the Timberwolves or Clippers, I mean, anybody, like there's so many
Anybody
teams.
in the Western Conference,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. There's like, I mean, especially in that like 5 to 8 range. I mean, there's multiple teams who are just like going all out. I mean, the Warriors are like 20-2 or something in their last
Yeah.
22 games. So you're going to want home court. And so 4 seed would be ideal. But yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, we'll see. I feel like better now than I did a week or so ago.
for sure. So, in today's episode, we're going to talk about some of the seen and unforeseen strides the Lakers made in March, even with their mediocre record. And I'm going to ask you what has you encouraged heading into the home stretch. And then, the more important topic after the break, I want to talk about quote unquote backseat Braun and his new role, quote unquote, supporting AR and Luka. So, before that, though, really quickly, what about March has you encouraged? Even with all the ups and downs, because if we contextualize March, like this was a month for the Lakers to just survive, and I think they did that. The Lakers were 9-8 in March, but considering their injury-stricken in and out nature of their roster, with LeBron going down, Rui going down, AR, Luka, Gabe, DFS all sitting out games here and there, it was a very disjointed sort of roster that had finally found cohesion in February. And so, given all of that, I'd say the Lakers did an admirable job treading water. And some of the things that encouraged me were Austin taking it up another level. Like, he has been absolutely locked in. He just capped off the best March of his career, averaging 23 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. That was literally his best scoring month in his entire NBA career. Also had his best field goal percentage month this season, shooting 48% outside of 5 games in October when he shot 52%. It was also his best 3-point volume month of his career, hitting a total of 38 threes. Definitely his best free throw percentage month of his career, shooting 94% from the line. So everything AR did was the best in March. So that's an encouraging sign. And then we also had 6 guys shoot 40% from three in March, which is crazy. Luka, Gabe Vincent, DFS, Dalton Connect, and then to a lesser extent, Rui Hachimura and Jordan Goodwin because they were in and out of the lineup. But all that to say, I'm also very encouraged by the role players starting to find their groove. DFS starting to hit his threes more consistently. I mean, Gabe Vincent, do you know he's the second leading 3-point shooter on the Lakers in the month of March, just behind Luka. Luka hit like 64 threes, which is insane. And then Gabe Vincent is second with 41 threes. I never thought that'd be possible, but Gabe Vincent in the month of March hit 41 threes, and he's now up to 36% from three on the season. Now
I
I
told
wish
you
he
it was
were.
good.
Now I wish he was a more. You told me he was good. Now I wish he was a more consistent 36% 3-point shooter. As in, I wish he always shot 3 of 8 from three every game instead of 4 of 7 one night and then 0 of 5 the next night. But so far, I'll take it. So yeah, any other encouraging things about this past March that you want to pinpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you covered is the highlights. I think Gabe is amusing because, like, to your point, it's 36%, but it feels like on any given night it could be 17% or 67%, and then like it averages out to 36. So I don't know. I think Austin continuing to find the ways that he can be effective is helpful. The concern with the Luka trade was that Austin would take too much of a backseat. I mean, everyone likes to use the big three, sort of terminology. Okay, who's your top three? And so Austin is the third guy. I think in people's minds, they just like naturally assume, like, okay, well, the third guy always takes the back seat and he'll just be like more of a support player. But like based on how we want to play and based on our roster construction, I mean, Austin has to stay aggressive and he has to be a threat at, playmaking and shooting and scoring at every level like he has been. So, him sort of finding his groove as guys have come in and out of the lineup and then maintaining it as everyone has gotten healthy. I think that's been the biggest key and will be the biggest key for our overall team success in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to top it all off, the Lakers also have the second best record against Western Conference teams, which is pretty impressive. And they hold the tiebreaker over all of the teams they're currently vying for home court advantage position against, except for, I think, just Minnesota. All right, with that said, let's take it to break. When we return, let's wrap things up and talk about LeBron James taking a backseat to Luka and AR's big two. Maybe? We'll see. All right, so we are back. Tommy, let's quickly close this episode out by talking about LeBron James and his new role since coming back from injury as this souped up Draymond Green. I'm being a little bit facetious about that, but that's why I wanted to bring this topic up. Since returning, LeBron James is averaging 18.7 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists on 43% from the field and 22% from three. The Lakers have gone 3-3. Now, obviously, he struggled out of the gate offensively, but has looked quite tremendous defensively. And with JJ opting for more small ball, LeBron has become such an integral piece to what the Lakers want to do on the defensive end of the floor, especially with no Anthony Davis. And I think it's safe to say the Lakers defense kind of goes as LeBron goes. So my question to you is this the way forward for LeBron in terms of him ceding more of the on-ball touches and offense to Luka and Reeves and focusing more on the defensive end of the floor? Or is there like a happy medium to be met? Because I think one could also fairly argue that the version of LeBron that we got before he got injured, when he was putting up 27 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, shooting 52% from the field and 36% from three, when the Lakers won 9 out of 11 games, that version of LeBron is better to have. Like the number two version of LeBron versus slotting him to number three, where he can quote unquote focus on defense. Because I think even the pre-injury LeBron, he was locked in on both ends of the floor. So, what are your thoughts on LeBron's role going forward? Because everyone's talking about, is Austin the best third option in the NBA? But is the question really, is LeBron James the best third option in the NBA? Because if we're talking about third options and LeBron James, we know that that answer is unequivocally yes, but have we taken it too far? Interested in hearing your thoughts.
So I think the analysis here really comes down, in my opinion, to sustainability. I think to your point, LeBron was putting up his career MVP type. I mean, not MVP with Jokic and Shea this season, but I mean, like, career MVP type numbers that he's always had, while still being an elite, what JJ called as like all NBA defensive type of player. Is that sustainable for 40 games plus the playoffs? I don't know. Is it sustainable post, groin injury? I don't know. So if the consequence here is LeBron takes a little backseat on the offensive side, but focuses all of his energy to, into getting back to where he was defensively pre-injury, that is a net win for us, in my opinion. I mean, LeBron, we're not that far removed from LeBron coming back sort of hobbled at the end of the season a few years ago, making the final push into the playoffs, and you know, sort of him and AD on one leg each carrying us to the Western Conference Finals. We have so many more offensively gifted players now, namely Luka, who, like as we've discussed multiple times, is like the ultimate sort of floor raiser of a team offensively. I would really, really want LeBron to focus on the defensive end. Like LeBron, the last few years, and I don't know, maybe this might be true over the course of his whole career, but certainly during the time he's been on the Lakers, has been one of the best fourth quarter scoring players in the NBA. And so, the numbers to me don't really matter, I guess, with him. He can go into a fourth quarter having
Mhm.
6 points, but like, if everybody else is scoring the way they should, he'll come in and score 15, and the game with 21, and it's like, I don't know, 'cause should he have scored more? If he was playing all NBA defense, I don't care, right? And so he is like not the thing, the luxury of having LeBron on your team and as your like second best player is he has the ability to contribute in so many ways, that if he's not putting
Mhm.
down his typical numbers, it doesn't really matter because it's not like, and I'm not trying to throw Luka under the bus for this. And like, as we've all seen, I think Luka's defensive issues were massively overstated. He's not like an elite point of attack defender, but people were acting like this guy was like prime Harden, like sort of defensively. But if Luka is not like you don't want an offense where Luka Doncic is taking 10 shots a game and his usage goes down to 15%. That would be an ineffective use of talent. If Luka is doing what he needs to do offensively, if LeBron is doing what he or excuse me, if Austin's doing what he needs to do offensively, LeBron is like the ultimate like it doesn't matter if he hasn't taken a shot for 36 minutes. He'll come in the floor. I mean, he is like the ultimate pro. There's a reason that he's in the greatest of all time discussion. He's not like a I need to
Mhm.
get into a rhythm, type of player. Or, oh, well, he didn't get going early, so now he's out of the flow of the game. Like there is no such thing with LeBron, with those types of things, right? It's like there's no flow of the game. He makes the flow of the game, and when he needs to get involved, he does it, and when he needs to pass, he passes. So, I just
He did it versus Indiana. He had like 16 points in the fourth, right?
exactly. And so like he lets the game come to him and he always has been like that. And I think this roster gives him even more flexibility on offense to do that because for years and years, most of the time he's been with us, if he wasn't creating offense, you know, we didn't have anyone. It's like we in the championship year we had Rondo who is one of the best, offensive minds of all time and a future Hall of Fame point guard to sort of fill that playmaking void. In all of the other years without Rondo, we haven't had anyone. I mean, we had D'Lo, right? And that's why you and I were both constantly pining for D'Lo to get more and more minutes because we were lacking playmaking, especially in the minutes LeBron wasn't in. They tried
Well,
to force.
and LeBron James shot 40 a career near career high 41% from 3 last season with D'Lo more on ball, so
Right, right. And we tried to force Austin into a role that he probably wasn't ready for, but eventually has grown into it, which is great. But all of this was done in an effort to sort of take LeBron off the ball. So I think he wants to be off the ball. He's wanted to be off the ball for years. He just now has the supporting cast that can do it.
mm,
And I don't his assists and his rebounds are going to be there regardless of what he's doing as a scorer, but if he's scoring 5 to 7 less points per game, but defending at an all NBA level, that is absolutely a net win for us because, again, because of we sort of alluded to this earlier, but the way our roster is constructed, we have such little margin for error defensively. Like everyone has to be locked in. There are better podcasts than ours in terms of analytic or X's and O's that will break down why that is. But if you sort of watch what we're doing, right, it's like we're not designed to let people break their man off the dribble on the perimeter, but it's like our defense presupposes that our schemes sort of presuppose that guys are going to get beat on the perimeter because we don't have those elite point of attack defenders. And so if you watch what's happening on like the back end, like we have this like swarming style of defense where guys are rotating and then the second rotation is already happening before the next pass comes. And so this is requiring guys to like really really be locked in and sort of be one step ahead, and fly around the perimeter to contest jump shots and fly into the paint to grab rebound, like swarm rebound, because we often play undersized. So it requires a lot of energy. I think when you and I were texting about that Rockets game and you kept saying like, man, both of these teams are tired. I think the Rockets were tired because of the second night of it back to back. I think we were tired because, there's a reason when we were the top defense, we were like a mediocre offense by efficiency ratings,
mhm.
right? Like we're just dedicating resources to that end. But if we are the number one defense or a top three defense going into the playoffs, like we're playing back at that level, if we're a middle of the pack offensive efficiency team, I like our chances much better than if we're like, closer to like the bottom of the top 10 defense and then slightly better offense. You know what I mean? I just think
Mhm.
that especially in the playoffs when the games sort of slow down and every game is close or most games are close and all of the close games sort of devolve into give the ball to your two best players and just let them make plays down the stretch. In sort of like ISO pick and roll scenarios, like you're not really running plays anymore at that point. I like our chances with Luka, LeBron, and Austin as our three guys to put the ball in their hands, but on the other end, we really have to be locked in. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, all of it is a long way of saying, yeah, I mean, if LeBron is happy embracing like a Draymond Green type of role, that is going to be a net win for us because I don't think we need his scoring and playmaking as much as we did. And I think he's going to find ways to get those numbers in there, like regardless of, I mean,
Yeah.
he's like the ultimate pro, right? He's like, he said it, he gives it, some people take it as like arrogance, but he's right. I mean, with all of his comments of like, oh, there have been these great players who have great careers during the prime of their athleticism, but they were just physically better than everyone. They never had to think the game. And he's right. I mean, LeBron is past the point in his career where he's physically more dominant than everybody else. And he does have to think the game now. And he is one of the masters in the league of thinking the game. And so I have no doubts that he'll figure it out, regardless of role.
Well, and if the Lakers are a top defense heading into the playoffs, it's largely going to be because LeBron James is locked the F in
Yeah.
defensively. Because
Yeah.
I think when LeBron is locked in, he is our best defensive player. He's our most versatile defensive player. It's always been, to your point, sustainability throughout the course of an 82 game regular season. But once the playoffs start, that's LeBron James time. And I think the conversation gets conflated too much to be this very black and white. Who's the second guy? Who's the third guy? I think the
Yeah.
argument should be like, I don't know, who gets more on ball usage, who seeds more on ball usage. LeBron might seed more on ball usage, but I don't think it's ever going to veer towards, hey Tommy, Austin Reeves, he's number 2 and LeBron James is number 3. To me, that discussion sounds so silly because LeBron James, if he's quote unquote the number 3 guy, it's because he decided to be for the benefit of the team, you know? And to your point, I think LeBron James is actually still going to be the second leading scorer on this team. The way
Oh
he
yeah.
gets his points is just going to look different. It might come off ball more. It might come off ball more, like cutting to the basket, shooting catch and shoot threes. And Austin may run more pick and rolls with Luka Doncic. They're all going to run pick and rolls with each other. But yeah, I think LeBron James will definitely cede a little more of his on-ball usage and control to Luka and Austin, especially now that Austin has grown. But at the same time, I wouldn't confuse that with, oh, LeBron. I think the LeBron James as Draymond Green takes it a little bit too far. If he is Draymond Green, it's like the 24 8-8 version, not the 17 8-8 we've been seeing in the last like 6 games because he's rounding into form from his injury. So in the playoffs, Austin will be the him we've seen on some nights, especially against certain matchups. During the regular season next year, I think that's a different discussion. I could see Austin being like the quote unquote second option on offense more often than not in order to sustain LeBron through the season. But come playoff time, when things slow down and things grind to a halt and things get more physical, LeBron's still going to be the second best player and even the first player on this team, first option on this team, especially in the clutch. And we are going to have some of those games, Tommy, where we are going to need LeBron James to just put his head down, barrel to the basket, and put pressure on the rim like he did versus the Memphis Grizzlies in 2023 in that Game 4 overtime game. I don't know if you remember that game when he gave Jaren Jackson and Dylan Brooks the business, and we
Yeah.
relied on him heavily to take it home for us. So
Yeah.
Austin Reeves has grown, but LeBron James, make no mistake about it, is still the second best player. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think though, it it's just like folks have to acknowledge that LeBron is not the same player he was in his prime, but or even frankly the same player he wasn't during our championship run, but that doesn't mean he's overall even worse than he was, right? It's like it's just different. Like if you go back and watch highlights from our bubble run to the championship, LeBron looks like I mean, people like comment about like look at rookie Luka versus like Luka now and how much faster he went. I mean, LeBron looks like he was playing at another speed back then. And maybe he'll get there as he sort of ramps up his output post groin injury. I mean, again, he knows himself and he knows how to manage his own body better than anyone. He's like a master of it. He's always been a master of it, but LeBron is not breaking guys down on the perimeter anymore. It's always been sort of a knock on him that, and this is an absurd knock because he's a 6'8", 250-pound power, like really forward, not like a point guard, but he doesn't have quote unquote a bag or whatever, right? He's never been the guy to break you down off the perimeter. He's been the guy to use his elite speed and athleticism to get by you on the perimeter. And now when he gets switched, I mean, there are like bigs who are not even very mobile bigs who can kind of keep up with him and stay in front of him on the perimeter. So he's just like not that player anymore. And so, you kind of want Austin. I mean, Luka is obviously going to be able to handle it, no problem, but you kind of want Austin to continue to have the ball in his hands during high leverage situations in the regular season because it's just going to be the case that he's going to have to do it in the playoffs. And, LeBron will be there as an outlet. LeBron will be there as a screener, as a roller. He will have the ball in his hands in crunch time situations, of course. But, again, I just don't know that he's viewing that as like the best way for him to contribute. And I think he's absolutely right about that.
No, yeah, for sure. He's playing 4D chess here. When he needs to ramp it up, he's going to ramp it up. And that includes crunch time as well. When he needs to be physical and he needs to break a man off the dribble, he will. And I think, to your point, even if he gets switched on to a more mobile big or not so mobile big who can kind of stand tall against him, having Luke and AR help him out tremendously, where it turns into a one-on-one matchup. And LeBron James will eventually find a way, even if he no longer has the legs and athleticism he once did. But even still, given that at 40 years old, 41 years old, he's still the Lakers' most physical and explosive player who can also handle the ball and pass like Luka, which is insane to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, with that said, backseat Braun, it's a myth. It's just really LeBron James playing 4D chess. So with that said, that'll do it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening. Follow us on Twitter or X at Lakers Legacy Pod. Please also subscribe to our YouTube channel at Lakers Legacy Pod as well, and give us a 5-star rating and review on the Apple Podcast app and Spotify app. And with that said, Tommy, I will catch you later.
Peace.
See ya.